She sat across me and she told me, Deepti, I'm worried my toddler is going to grow up angry, rejected, and maybe even alone. Her son was just 2.5, 3 years old. He used to push, fight, bite other children in his social circle. And this mother was worried that what if this is who my child is going to be? If you have ever been in this mother's shoes, worrying and wondering about your child, or you wonder what does the behavior behind your child's outbursts mean, or you were that child who was misunderstood by others for a very long time in your life. If you said yes to either of these three things, then this video is for you. Hi, my name is Dipti. I'm an engineer turned teacher turned therapist. And in this video, we will be taking a deep dive into why a toddler behaves the way he or she does. Stick till the end because I will be sharing the technique that helped this mother to reframe her son's behavior and de-escalate the situation faster. Let's get started. When the child is misbehaving, there are mainly three things, according to me, which is happening, which we need to understand to help the child and the parent better. Number one is their brain development. We'll look at two different structures inside the child's brain to have a better understanding of the situation. Prefrontal cortex, the part behind your forehead, and small almond-shaped structure deep within your brain that's called amygdala. So let's look at amygdala first. It makes you feel emotions with high intensity, and it's not fully developed, but it's still working in the child, and it is responsible for the emotions they are feeling: fear, anger, jealousy, disappointment. It is also responsible for keeping you safe, everyone safe, like any kind of stresses in the environment, any kind of danger. Immediately, amygdala starts the stress response system inside the brain. That is fight, flight, and freeze. There's a fourth one called fawning, which we'll not look in this particular video, but just keep in mind that these are the stress responses which are flooded in the body by amygdala when it assumes or sees a danger in its environment. And for a small child whose brain is not fully developed, anything and everything can become either a danger or a sense of unfairness or a feeling of overwhelm in their body. Prefrontal cortex is responsible for stopping those feelings. How does it do it? Because it is responsible for executive functions. For instance, thinking, decision making, problem solving. Let me give you an example. If by chance a person comes from behind and they say boo, immediately for some of us, it might be like a surprise or a shock and we get scared. Your body jumping. That time, it's your amygdala which is getting activated because it's like, oh my God, there's some danger in my environment. But your prefrontal cortex will logically think, okay, this is not a danger, Deepti, calm down, it's totally safe. And immediately those stress response system which has been initiated, it kind of loses its momentum and body calms down within few minutes, right? This is what happens. But for a child, the prefrontal cortex is not even in the beta testing version. It takes nearly 25 years to develop fully. It's like the brake system for the emotions which are overwhelming, which is just growing. This acts like a brake system, and this brake system, when it's not in its full form, automatically there is nothing controlling or managing or directing those emotions which you are feeling through your amygdala. Let me give you an analogy. Imagine a building is on fire and the fire alarm is ringing, and the fire chief is not yet ready. He's just getting ready, he's putting on a shirt. So what happens to the fire alarm? It grows louder and more intense until a calm adult comes into the picture to stop that alarm. The most important thing here is the calm adult. This calm adult will work as the prefrontal cortex for a small child. Now imagine if the adult is also screaming, what happens? What does the child do? The child will either suppress the emotions, which has its own repercussions. If you have not watched my previous video on what yelling does to children, kindly take a look at that video here. Or the child freezes inside his body If they stop crying, it doesn't mean that it's totally fine and the child has regulated himself. No. Regulation happens through co-regulation. Regulation cannot happen for a child on his own. Even for adults, sometimes we need the company or the presence of another adult to make sense of our emotions and our emotional states. And that is why a calm adult's presence is very important in helping the child to de-escalate. Number 2 is the needs behind the behavior. We all have different needs. Sometimes it's also emotional. Did you know that there is even a need for fairness and justice in our lives? The children also have almost similar needs like adults. But the thing is that most of the times these needs they get hidden behind the child's behavior. What do I mean by that? So when a child is having a tantrum, a so-called tantrum, they're screaming loud or they're hitting or they're pushing, usually this kind of aggression is a raw reaction to the frustration they are feeling. Another example would be when a child becomes extremely clingy to their caregiver. Most of the times it could be a raw reaction to the insecurity they are feeling, uncertainty or fear of a certain setting. And at that point of time, when we push them away without understanding the need underlying this behavior, and we just scream at them, scold them, or judge them, thinking that this is who my child is, this is how he will be, this is who he will become when he grows up. This just adds to their frustration. They are not able to tell you what they are feeling, what are their needs. And if we don't take time to understand the child's needs, it's not going to be easy years. It's not going to help you to de-escalate the situation. Which brings us to our third concept. Number 3 being overstimulation and language development. Let's look at overstimulation first. Overstimulation can happen through play, like too much play time and very little sleep. It also happens because of screen time. Screen time is responsible for both overstimulation and lower language development in children. I'm not totally against screen time, but recently we are seeing that when more and more screen time is introduced into a child, especially in a toddler's life, it is impacting them negatively in the long run. They are not learning to regulate their emotions. They are not learning about their emotions. They are learning to not look into their emotions and be diverted from their emotions. When in early years, it's a golden time to be teaching children about their emotions, to be allowing them to feel their emotions and to deal with their emotions in a constructive way. We are missing out on that chance when we are diverting them from that particular behavior. Sometimes, yes, you need to divert. When the diversion is through screen time, it impacts them by not only reducing their language, distracting them from their emotions, which is leading to emotional suppression, but it is also not teaching them to cope with emotions like disappointment, frustration, boredom. Instead, it becomes a lot easier to forget about the emotions. In the long run, they are going to struggle to make sense of their emotions and to understand that emotions are very temporary, be it the anger that they are feeling or the fear that they are feeling. They are temporary emotions, and how to become comfortable within those emotions, how to get out of those emotions, or how to regulate when you're feeling intense emotion are skills. Those are golden opportunities which we miss out to learn at a very young age. Though the topic is about language and overstimulation, I feel screen time is playing a very big role in impacting both aspects in a child, in especially in a toddler's life. Did you also know that till the age of 2, children should avoid being given screen time? And after the age of 3, there are certain recommendations if you want to check out the allowed timings. You can go online and see if your child is within that limit or whether they are watching content which is acceptable for their age limit. These are things as parents we need to keep in mind when we are looking at our toddlers' outbursts or toddlers' tantrums. So, what did I tell this mother? It's a culmination of the steps I spoke about. The first thing that we need to do is pause. We see the behavior and we tell ourselves, this is the behavior, this is not who my child is. I just need to take a deep breath in and pause and observe the child. Number two, we try to understand what might be the underlying need that is not being met. If it's a very obvious one, we just say, okay, you are sad because your block of towels fell down, or you are mad that the other child took away your toy. If it's very obvious, then you state that along with the emotion and see if the child is agreeing with you. If the child doesn't agree, then you try to go a little bit more deep with your scientific observation method to understand what is that I'm not seeing as an adult. Sometimes they're just feeling hungry or tired, and we need to dig a little deep within ourselves to understand the situation and state the situation to them. Followed by number three, we connect with them. We connect by placing our hand on the child or by holding the child in our arms. Especially for toddlers, it's the best to hold them gently if they allow you. If they're not allowing, you just stay close by next to them with your hand on their back, gently patting them. And finally, the fourth one, if nothing is working, just start taking deep breaths with the child. We take a deep breath in and you say that. I'm taking a deep breath in. I'm breathing in and I'm breathing out. Breathing in, breathing out. And you'll see the child, maybe not within the first minute or the second minute, but by the third minute, they are going to breathe with you and will want to feel calmer. My son, who's 4 years old, whenever he feels disappointment or any of the emotions which are difficult for him to deal with, he comes running to me because this is our routine. And then I just need to hold him. If I ask him questions, if I try to talk to him, it doesn't help holding him, telling him, you know what, let me hug you. And he says yes, and I hug him. And then we breathe. We simply breathe till he is all right. It used to take a long time for him to calm down, to feel calmer in his body. But these days, he has picked up that technique of breathing. So he'll go, he's feeling those emotions deeply and breathing out through his mouth to regain that calm before the onslaught of emotions. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes he just needs to sleep to feel better. The technique of pausing, observing the child, understanding their need, telling them their needs, then connecting with them physically and breathing is something that works day in and day out. And did this work for the mother? Absolutely. It worked beautifully for her. It slowly started bringing down all the escalations. This particular technique helped her realize that it was just her own fears about the future of her child. She needed to shift her way of looking at her child's tantrums to form deeper connection with her child, thereby helping the child to regulate his emotions better. In part 2, I'll be showing you the next layer where the parent and the child will develop these skills over time, because behavior is only step 1. Thank you for all who stayed till the end. What is one toddler reaction that you've always found confusing? Comment below because I read everyone's comments. Thank you and bye from Everything Parenting with Dipti.